What is the show Barry about? It's about a soldier turned hitman who finds his work and his life unfulfilling, so decides to get into acting. That's the blurb. But really, it's about the human experience. It's about trauma. Each of us asking ourselves if we can find the willingness to change and how to make emotional connections. There is one larger and much less philosophical theme at the center of the series: working with others. The show says that acting isn't just about hitting your mark and knowing your lines. It's about give and take. It's about learning from others, learning to emphasize with others, and take what you learn from acting out of the acting space and use it in your real life to be a better person. The reason why the Kusino classes are so important to Barry and why he looks up to Gene so much is not because he's learning how to act, it's because he's learning how to be human. And here's what's interesting about that: the person he's learning from is not the most noble of guys. If we're honest with ourselves, we have to admit that people are at their core selfish. We're goal orientated. We want what we want and fuck everyone else. Some of us approach that in a nicer way than others, but that's pretty much what being human is. And you know what line of business you see that affect the people most in? Acting. Because it attracts people that are either desperate for attention, desperate for meaning, and it's set up to basically exploit them. Sally is... Okay, full disclosure, my first watch through, I could not stand this character. She's incredibly selfish, blind to a lot of what is going on around her, and just mean at times. But as the series goes on, and the more you look at things from her point of view, I get where she's coming from. It helps that you do see flashes of humanity here and there over the course of the series, and yeah, the obvious read of her in season 1 is she's using Barry, but isn't Barry using her too? He in effect globs onto the first woman who shows him any kind of affection, like he globbed onto the first person he thought had any kind of wisdom when he met Jean and made him his mentor. Like he did when he got out of the Marines and globbed onto Fuchs, the first person he met who said he would give him some kind of purpose when he turned him into a contract killer. I don't think she even realizes she's doing it. I think Sally is using Barry because she's in a business that uses people. To her, it's normal. Yes, her self-obsession stops her from seeing the true pain that Barry is in, but no one else really sees it either, do they? Even Barry doesn't. He's just pushing it all down, using acting as a way of escaping his trauma. Which is why he fights back every time he is told he needs to access that trauma to be a better actor. There's a bit in season 1 episode 7 where they say that we know what our worst qualities are and we have the tools to fix them, we just choose not to. And if you're going to crucify Sally for her worst quality being selfish, then you can't applaud Barry as a hero because his worst quality is that he kills people. The theme of being human is a lot more evident in series 2. It's so prevalent, in fact. The arc of the series is Jean making the students do performances based around defining moments of their life, which leads the majority of the class pointing towards the worst thing that ever happened to them. No one chooses to celebrate the good choices they've made, but rather exploit their tragedy. And they even say in episode 4, there's nothing wrong with being human, but you need to lean into it and all that entails. You need to feel things, you need to deal with your emotions, have the difficult conversations. You need to stop the goddamn emotional flip-floppery. Identify who the fuck you are and either be proud of it or learn to live with it, because the way you're going, you know you're either going to crash and burn or get used up and spat out by Hollywood like it has with so many others before you. Another theme in season 2 is something that's said twice. I guess we're all the heroes of our own story. I think this goes back to the core of what acting is. Finding the good in the character, even in the worst of characters, so that when you portray them, you can understand their motives. And that obviously transfers to real life, doesn't it? Sally has the central character trait of wanting things she thinks she deserves, which again makes her seem like a pretty shitty person, but Barry's made himself the hero of his own story, murdering people, and not just bad guys and gangsters, anyone who stands in the way between him and what he feels he deserves, a normal life. This scene in season 2 episode 7 is great because it sums up how fucked up both these people are. Sally, as she does through the series, turns this conversation around to her and her goals, at one point stopping mid-conversation with herself to ponder how she can more effectively sell out, and then in the same rant, turns on Barry, berates him for finding success easier than she did, and inferring that him selling out is much worse than her selling out. But it also sums up the whole weird relationship these two have. She makes everything about herself, insults him directly to his face, and Barry doesn't care, as long as he gets to act and be around Sally. It's easy to say that Sally is the worst character because her faults are so easy to spot, but when you look at it as a whole, Fuchs is definitely the biggest piece of shit in this show. He's not an actor, but he's acting in a way. He portrays himself as someone who cares about Barry when what he really cares about is the money Barry makes from his contract killings. And yes, you can say that he does have affection for Barry, he loves him in his own way. We see he has some emotion, and you can see how hurt he is when Fuchs learns that Barry never thought of him as a father figure. But with all that in mind, the thing that makes Fuchs the biggest piece of shit in this turd pie is that he is fully aware of what a terrible human being he is. He offers up no excuses for that. He's not trying to change his life in any way. In fact, his whole thing is that he's trying to keep everything exactly as it is. He knows he's a shitty person, and he just doesn't care. And if I could put a little asterisk side note-y thing here, Stephen Root, who plays Fuchs, is the greatest character actor working today. He shows it in every show he's in, and the fact that he doesn't have a million awards is a goddamn travesty. But anyway, so we know who the shithead of this show is, who's the most lovable character. I think we can all agree. It's NoHo Hank, isn't it? And is it any coincidence that the breakout star of this show about broken people trying to fix themselves in a terribly broken business that is acting is also the one guy who is completely happy with who he is? He's living his truth. He knows he doesn't fit into the organized crime world, but it's where he's ended up and he's making the most of it. He's a product of the organized crime world, but still comes out of it a better version of a human than all the people that are enacting. All his success isn't rooted in aspirational and career goals like it is for all the actors. It comes from his humanity. He survives because he makes alliances and because he has the opposite instinct of an actor. He doesn't seek the limelight. He doesn't want to lead. He doesn't want the attention. He blends into the background. He's a supporting role and he's fine with that. He's learned that you can achieve more if you don't let your ego take control and you work with people. Actors may be terrible people, but the methods they use really can help us do better and be better. And that's what Barry is about. I found some interesting stuff as I was talking there, so yeah. Deep show. Look forward to more of it. Speaking of looking forward to more, subscribe to the Top Hats and Canes YouTube channel to find out when the next video is going to come out, or go to tophatsandcanes.com to find all the videos and more, including our award-winning sci-fi neo-noir detective series John Catch, and interview comedy show Inquiring Minds with Stephen Edwards.